In 1969, a young immigrant stepped onto the most legendary stage in rock and roll, Woodstock. But everything was about to go wrong. High on hallucinogens, playing to a crowd that barely knew who he was, his band was in the middle of one of the worst performances of their career, until the final song began. And in those few minutes, something happened that would change rock history forever. Today, we're going to discover how one song turned Carlos Santana into one of the most powerful legends in rock. Was it luck or pure talent? Let's begin. Carlos Santana was born on July 20th, 1947, in Autlan of Navarro, a small town in the state of Jalisco, Mexico. His father, a mariachi violinist, was the first to place an instrument in his hands. By the age of 5, Carlos was already trying to coax melodies out of the violin, though deep inside, a different rhythm was calling to him. He was captivated by the new sounds coming through the radio, the blues of B.B. King and the rock and roll of Chuck Berry and Little Richard. So, at the age of 8, he traded the violin for an electric guitar. And from that moment on, he never let it go. That blend of roots, Mexican by birth, but blues-driven at heart, would become a key part of the unique sound that later set him apart. As a teenager, his family moved to Tijuana. There, among noisy bars, neon lights, and endless nights, Carlos began playing with local musicians. It was in that scene that he met the legendary Javier Batiz. Batiz didn't just teach him scales and riffs. He passed on the soul of the blues. That ache turned into art. Carlos soaked it all in like a sponge. And as he played in the clubs along the border, his dream became clearer and clearer. He wanted to devote himself completely to music. And that dream was about to come true. Because just across the border, to the north, a city was waiting for him. One that would change his life forever. In the early 1960s, the Santana family left Tijuana behind and crossed into the United States in search of new opportunities. They settled in San Francisco, a city alive with the first pulse of the hippie counterculture. For Carlos, who was only 15, it felt like landing on another planet, a place where the streets smelled of incense, people talked about peace and freedom, and music poured out from every corner. While washing dishes to survive, Carlos never stopped playing. He practiced for hours, walked everywhere with his guitar slung over his shoulder, and listened to anything that could shape his style, from the street soul of Sly Stone to the cosmic jazz of John Coltrane. San Francisco opened both his mind and his heart, and by the time he was 18, his dream was fully set. He wanted to live from music. The turning point came in 1966 at the legendary Fillmore West. Carlos was already a regular there at San Francisco's psychedelic rock temple, run by the influential concert promoter Bill Graham. One Sunday morning, a guitarist from one of the scheduled bands failed to show up, and Graham urgently needed someone to fill the spot. Carlos, always alert to any opportunity, offered to step in, and Graham said yes. Carlos took the stage and improvised his way through the entire set in front of a fiercely demanding crowd. His solos were so raw, so powerful that they left the room stunned. Bill Graham didn't just applaud him. In that moment, he knew he was looking at a diamond in the rough. He took Carlos under his wing and began opening doors for him. More appearances at the Fillmore, and opening slots for giants like The Who, Steve Miller, and Howlin' Wolf. Driven by that breakthrough, Carlos decided to form his own band. That's how the Santana Blues Band was born, alongside musicians from the local scene who shared the same expansive vision. Greg Rowley on keyboards and vocals, Michael Carabello on percussion, and David Brown on bass. What they created was not simply blues, and not just rock. It was a fierce blend of Latin rhythms, wild improvisation, and emotional intensity that could never be faked. Remember the name Greg Rowley, a musician whose impact on rock would later become enormous. But before we get there, we need to move a little further into the story. By now, Carlos Santana was no longer just a promising young talent. He had a band with its own identity and the backing of one of San Francisco's most influential promoters. But what came next would take him from local sensation to something far bigger. A legend, quite literally. By 1969, the Santana Blues Band was tearing it up at the Fillmore West, but they still hadn't released a single record. It was thanks to David Rubinson, a Columbia Records producer and a regular at their shows, that they landed their first contract. The label asked them to shorten the name, so Santana Blues Band became simply Santana. With a record deal in hand, Carlos and the band entered the studio to shape their debut album, a cocktail of psychedelic rock, Afro-Latin percussion, and blues soul that sounded unlike anything on the radio at the time. Among the songs they were working on was an instrumental piece they had been refining since their earliest rehearsals, Soul Sacrifice. It had no lyrics, but it had soul. It was the moment when every member of the band could unleash their creative fury. Carlos knew it. If any song could capture the true essence of the band, it was Soul Sacrifice. That was why it became their winning card, the song they would use to close any show they had the chance to play. And that chance came sooner than expected, when the organizers of the Woodstock Festival, the biggest event in the rock world, asked Bill Graham, Santana's promoter, to help put together the lineup. He agreed on one condition: Santana had to be included. The remarkable thing was that the band was confirmed without having released a single album, and almost nobody outside San Francisco even knew who they were. Even so, they were added at the last minute. On August 16th, 1969, around midday, the band arrived at the festival. Backstage, they relaxed, believing they wouldn't go on until much later that night. To calm their nerves, some of them even took hallucinogenic substances. Carlos accepted a dose offered by Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, thinking he still had hours to spare. But suddenly, because of the festival's chaotic organization, they were told they had to go on stage immediately. Santana barely had time to react. Still under the effects of the drugs, Carlos felt like he had neither the balance nor the strength to play. But he didn't back down. He walked onto the stage, took a deep breath, and let instinct take over. The beginning was tense, even messy. The tuning wavered, and the first songs didn't fully connect. It was shaping up to be a very weak set. Then came the final song. This was the moment to play their ace, Soul Sacrifice. And that's exactly what they did. The instant the song began, everything changed. The band entered trance. Michael Shreve, only 20 years old, unleashed a devastating drum solo. The congas exploded like tribal drums, while Carlos played with his eyes closed, silently praying he wouldn't lose his place. His face showed pure inner struggle. His guitar sounded like fire. What happened next was pure magic. Their performance of Soul Sacrifice was not only the high point of their set, it became one of the most iconic moments of all Woodstock. And when the festival's official documentary was released in 1970, it was that scene, Carlos biting his lip, the band completely on fire, that captured the attention of the entire world. The impact was immediate. Santana went from being an unknown band to an international sensation. Radio stations started searching for their music. Columbia rushed the release of the album, and the name Santana became synonymous with virtuosity, fusion, and raw fire. All because of an instrumental song born from the soul and unleashed in front of 500,000 people.
Ladies and gentlemen, Santana!
Soul Sacrifice was not just a song. It was the sacred offering that transformed Carlos Santana into a legend. If Soul Sacrifice at Woodstock moved you too, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss more of rock's immortal moments. Let's keep going. Just 2 weeks after setting Woodstock on fire with Soul Sacrifice, Santana's first album was officially released on August 30th, 1969. Simply titled Santana, the record stormed the charts, reaching number 4 in the United States, fueled by the aftershock of the festival and by a sound that shattered expectations. Guitars drenched in blues, Latin percussion burning red hot, and a psychedelic spirit that felt almost intoxicating. At the start of 1970, the single Evil Ways, an irresistible blend of Latin groove and danceable rock, climbed into the Billboard Top 10, proving that this was no fluke. Santana wasn't just popular. They were helping define something entirely new. But the best was still ahead. In September 1970, barely a year after their debut, they released Abraxas, an even bolder album that quickly rose to number 1 on the charts. It featured timeless gems like Black Magic Woman, Santana's hypnotic take on the Fleetwood Mac song, and Oye Como Va, their tribute to Tito Puente's Mambo, which got half the world dancing to a Spanish phrase on English-language radio. Then, in 1971, came Santana III, which included another classic, Samba Pati, an instrumental with a deeply romantic soul that once again proved Carlos's guitar could speak for him. In just 2 years, Santana had gone from playing bars in Tijuana to topping charts, filling stadiums, and landing on magazine covers. He was no longer an emerging artist. He was fully established. But fame also brought tension, ego, excess, and difficult choices. And like every summit, this one would eventually have its descent. The dizzying rise to success came at a cost. As Santana climbed the charts and filled stadiums, deep cracks began to appear within the band. The sudden fame after Woodstock, the exhausting tours, growing egos, and a lifestyle steeped in excess all took their toll. Carlos became increasingly drawn to jazz, spiritual music, and the more ethereal sounds influenced by Coltrane, Miles Davis, and Pharoah Sanders. But other members, like Greg Rowley, wanted to hold on to the more direct hard rock style that had defined the band in its early days. Those artistic differences, combined with the heavy drug use surrounding the group, created a fracture that widened with every step. By the end of 1972, the split was unavoidable. Greg Rowley and Neil Schon, 2 key pillars of Santana's original sound, decided to leave. They felt Carlos had taken control of a band they had built together. Earlier, I asked you to remember the name Greg Rowley. Well, this is the point in the story where he and Neil Schon chose to return to the harder rock sound Santana was beginning to leave behind. And the result? They formed a new band that would dominate the years to come. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. Soon after, other musicians like Michael Carabello, David Brown, and later Michael Shreve also left, pulled away by lifestyle problems and substance abuse. The band was slowly coming apart, while Carlos held tightly to his vision. Searching for peace and direction, Santana joined the Indian guru Sri Chinmoy in 1973, adopting the spiritual name Devadeep, meaning the light of God, and embracing a life of meditation, vegetarianism, and strict discipline. That same year, he released Love, Devotion, Surrender with John McLaughlin, a deeply mystical and jazz-driven album. It was followed by Welcome, even more introspective, and then albums like Borboleta, 1974, and Amigos, 1976, where songs like Europa emerged, a melancholy instrumental that struck a deep chord across Latin America. But as his music moved farther away from conventional rock and deeper into jazz fusion, sales began to decline. By the late 1980s, Santana had broken with Sri Chinmoy, and in 1992, he declared himself a born-again Christian. Still, not everything was bad news. In 1987, he won a Grammy for his song Blues for Salvador. By this point, Carlos Santana had come through a harsh cycle of fractures and rebirths. Because even though his days of commercial glory seemed to be behind him, the fire was still burning in his hands. He just needed a spark, and that spark was about to ignite everything again. After years of ups and downs, introspection, and relative silence in the spotlight, Carlos Santana's story entered an unexpected and glorious second act. In 1998, the original band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a recognition that confirmed what fans had always known. Santana was not just part of rock history, he was one of its cornerstones. But the true rebirth came the following year. In June 1999, Santana released Supernatural, a bold project that fused his unmistakable guitar sound with contemporary voices like Rob Thomas, Lauryn Hill, Eric Clapton, and Mana. The album didn't just bring Carlos back to the charts, it launched him to an entirely new peak of global popularity. Smooth, his infectious collaboration with Rob Thomas, hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in August and became a full-blown phenomenon. Then, in February 2000, Santana made history by winning 8 Grammy Awards in a single night, including Album of the Year and Record of the Year, tying Michael Jackson's record. The mystical, passionate guitarist had returned, and this time the whole world was celebrating him. And you? Where were you when you first heard those songs? Tell us your memory in the comments. We'd love to read it. The years that followed only cemented his legacy, with new releases like Shaman, 2002, and All That I Am, 2005, keeping him relevant through collaborations that connected different generations. In 2010, he published his autobiography, an intimate look into his spiritual and artistic journey. And in 2013, he received one of the highest cultural honors in the United States, the Kennedy Center Honor, in recognition of his lasting contribution to music. But perhaps one of the most emotional moments came in 2016, when he reunited with the original members to record Santana of 4, recapturing that sacred spark that had first been born in the 1960s. Today, after more than 5 decades of career, Carlos Santana remains a musical beacon, a bridge between cultures, and a symbol of authentic passion. His story is not just the story of a brilliant guitarist. It is the story of someone who, despite everything, kept following the call of his soul to the very end. And if you ever need to remember why we love music, all you have to do is hear that guitar roar in soul sacrifice one more time, and let yourself be carried away. Remember Greg Rowley and Neil Schon? Yes. The same 2 musicians who left Santana right after the band had reached the very top. Well, they would go on to conquer the world all over again by forming a second band, Journey. Come with me and discover how Journey became one of the greatest hard rock bands of the 1980s. Click now, and I'll see you there, my fellow rock fan.